So good morning or good afternoon or good evening, wherever you are in the world. Talent Finders podcast would like to welcome Joe, an entrepreneur, real estate mortgage broker, and coach. So welcome, Joe.
Thanks, Karen. I appreciate you having me on here. I'm excited.
Thank you. Firstly, I'd obviously like to congratulate you on all your achievements and what you've done. So can you share with our audience a little bit about your background and how you got into the business that you're in now and, how you started your own business?
Sure, absolutely. So I started my career in corporate America, working in finance and, banking in the late 1990s, worked for, multiple credit card companies, bounced around a little bit, and then worked my way into IT customer support with the American Red Cross, which is a nonprofit company, and then into Comcast, which was a big, gigantic multimedia company.
Okay.
So throughout my career, I kind of built up a whole customer service, client service, strategic initiatives. And then I was able to sort of do that on the front end with customer service and on the back end with the IT, understanding systems and support and how they can help customers have a great experience.
Amazing. So obviously in the current narrative or the current climate that we're in, leadership is obviously a big subject. So what would you say is different about your leadership style and what is unique about it, and what do you think needs to change not only in the current, your current landscape, but on a global or even national level in terms of leadership?
Right. Yeah, my leadership is very direct, but it's collaborative. It's a unique combination of that. When I need to step up and tell people, hey, this is what needs to happen to get through this, or to get through this audit, or to be able to help somebody, make a change in their life. It's very direct, but it's also collaborative where, I'm asking questions, going deeper than all this, surface level bullshit that people have, where they're just like, oh, how you feeling today? Well, okay, what's going on? I can pick up language patterns in people, how they say, well, I'm fine. Well, that's probably not right. You're probably not fine. There's something going on. Yeah. Or, well, I can't figure this out. Okay, what's going on? So it's a collaborative but direct style. I'm big on communication.
And all-inclusive, I suppose, as well, right?
Yes. Yep, big on communication as well. And I think in this sort of current climate, especially in the U.S., I think the way the communication's happening right now is piss poor. It needs to change drastically. I see a lot of leaders right now just kind of sitting on their back deck with a cup of coffee all day, and then lunchtime it's beer, and then it's wine in the afternoon. People just seem to be getting lazy, especially like company owners I'm seeing. And I'm like, well, this is like the perfect time for you to, help your company or make your company better and, work with your employees. You have all the time in the world. You don't have your commute time anymore. Yeah. So that's the big thing right now.
Absolutely. So obviously you wear many hats. So you have your mortgage business, you have your coaching business. So can you share with us as an entrepreneur and from your perspective and how you manage to run, multiple things at the same time, or multiple genres or industries at the same time? And then how do you also balance, if there's such a thing, your time with your family as well? Because obviously you have a family and, wife and kids. So how do you balance that out, and how do you manage to run all these things at the same time?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it all starts with, organization. You have to really schedule everything out. I mean, I have Outlook calendar, that I use, the Microsoft Outlook calendar that I put everything in. Like I would put my time to commute in, time to go get coffee, it was 15 minutes or whatever, and then just sort of build out a schedule each day for what I would need to have happen, because I found early on, like, I was always getting, like, especially in corporate, getting tagged into meetings and garbage meetings, what I call. So I was like, okay, let me schedule my calendar for stuff I need to do. So I'm more in the driver's seat versus everybody else. And I think as an entrepreneur, you have to basically schedule your time out, because you're being pulled in a million directions. Like my coaching website, was hacked last year. So that the wheels come off. So what do? You're in crisis mode trying to figure that out. But then also too, I got mortgage closing, so I got to keep on track of that. So how do you handle that? You really, best thing to do is keep a schedule. And I try every Sunday to spend 30 minutes and look at the week and say, okay, what's big this week? What needs to happen? What are 3 or 4 things I need to get done? Is it recording a podcast? Is it shooting videos? Is it doing a couple TikTok videos for fun just to kind of get my brand out there? Or is it calling 5 realtors this week? That's the big thing. Obviously, being your own boss or being an entrepreneur in a way, it does pull a lot from the family. I try to, be there like as much as I can. It's hard. I mean, especially when I was commuting to Washington, D.C., from Delaware to New York or Philly, you have that travel time. So it was out the door before the kids were up, and then basically home when they're getting showers and stuff. So, like lately, obviously with my wife being a nurse and being a little bit quarantined, my son and I have been we've been having sleepovers in his room. So we've been just talking and chatting and having fun. And those are the things and stuff like that where you're intimate and spend time. And then obviously my wife got us these masks. I know you could probably see this, but these are the face masks that we're wearing at Star Wars. So we've had a little bit of fun with that, and we walk around the house. So it's all about just sort of building like meaningful time, where you put the phone down for a little bit, or if we're playing phones, like he and I played a game last night together, and it was like the most fun he had. He was laughing, cracking up, and those are little things you can do.
Yes. And also, I guess it helps you to adapt as well. I mean, you have to be adaptable as an entrepreneur, right? So.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be, and that's hard for me because there's some parts of me where I don't like change. I'm very, prescriptive with stuff, and I'm particular about stuff. I guess it's a trait in my family, but I'm getting better at that, where you have to learn as an entrepreneur, like, okay, like, you're going to have people that, throw crap at you every day, like, what the hell just happened? And you got to react and say, okay, let me move forward. I mean, I probably complain and bitch and complain more than anybody, but I do back, my big mouth up with results when I get stuff done. And that's what you got to do. And sometimes it doesn't happen, but you just got to be able to roll with it and just keep going.
Absolutely. So in the current crisis and obviously pandemic of COVID-19, how have you had to adjust your own business?
I'm obviously big on social media. I take a lot of heat for that because people are like, oh, you're there you go posting on Facebook again, or there you go posting on Twitter, or you're here or you're there. But, when I worked in corporate, when I worked for a company for Comcast, and then Comcast, I saw the virtual reality, the automation, the automata they were creating, which it's coming. It's going to be coming much sooner. So I was already really trying to be more online and be what I call omnipresent online, where people see you on Facebook, they see you on Twitter, they're like, oh, there he is. And it hit me about a year and a half ago. My colleague and I in the mortgage business, we walked into a networking meeting where nobody knew, anybody. We had no idea what it was. Yeah. As soon as we walk in the room, they go, there he is. There's that guy. And I'm like, wait, what? And then they're like, yeah, you're the guy that does all those videos online. And then it kind of hit me. I'm like, okay, people see me. So people, and then somebody said, well, I looked up CNN and I saw one of your ads. So, in this current climate, you have to be online, and you have to really be using Zoom and all the technology to kind of connect with people. Like Facebook Messenger is huge. I'm checking on realtors. Hey, how you doing? Everything okay? Great. Not selling, checking in with clients and stuff. How's it going? How are things happening? And just putting yourself out there more so than ever right now, because it's a noisy world right now. And to put yourself, be above the noise. Yep.
So what is it for you really like to be an entrepreneur in this time? So I guess pre-COVID and COVID, now. So, what is what is it really like for you? You know, like your honest experience. I mean, I'm sure there's many highs and lows and, you know, things in between.
Yeah. I mean, from a coaching standpoint right now, like doing the career coaching stuff, like it's dried up a little bit where people just are not spending the money. I mean, everybody's hoarding the toilet paper and the paper products, so people are kind of spending all their money there. The mortgage business, you know, they're increasing their guidelines. There's more scrutiny for loans, so I have a lot of loans falling apart. You know, we were rolling there at the beginning of the year, so it slowed a little bit. And then it kind of hit me last week when I had a couple say, hey, you know, we're afraid to go out and look at houses because of the, you know, COVID-19. We're just going to stay put and rent for like the next 6 months. So you're seeing a lot of that now. And I think in any business, you're having to adjust quickly. It's hard. I mean, right now it's probably, I would say, the worst it's been as far as being an entrepreneur, because you see all these people going out of business. They can't stay open, so they're hurting. And, you know, you have to kind of adjust. I mean, I've seen businesses when they started doing like the, you know, the takeout food, which is great. And then one business started doing videos of like them cooking their takeout food. So that was big. So you had like right now, it's probably the worst to be an entrepreneur. I hate saying that, but I'd be brutally honest. But it's also too the perfect time to, you know, try to innovate. You know, when you're in crisis, you can innovate, and whoever does that's going to win.
Yeah, exactly. So let me see here. So how did you know you wanted to do this type of work? So, I mean, was the coaching something that came post being involved in the real estate and mortgage business, or was this something that kind of happened concurrently?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. It happened concurrently. So when I was being let go from Comcast in 2015, I was already starting to work on a coaching practice, like kind of as a side hustle or side business. Yeah. Because I felt my experience in the corporate world could really help people. You know, being good with your finances, making all those mistakes. You know, making sure that you took care of your career and you managed it proactively. I kind of felt like there was a lot there. So I started building that. And then a family friend came and said, hey, I think you'd be good in the mortgage business. I hate seeing you lose a job every couple of years, because that's what it was. You know, corporations were changing, downsizing. They're getting aggressive.
They're forever restructuring.
Yep, exactly. So every 2 years I'd be out of a job, especially in that kind of work. So he just said, look, you can make your own way in the mortgage business, and, you know, you can do your coaching thing. And it just felt like it was a good, seamless transition. You know, I kind of saw the writing on the wall. And then I was like, all right, these are ways I can go, and they could fit very well together. You might think, okay, career coaching and then mortgage business, how does that work? But, you know, a lot of entrepreneurs have multiple streams of income. You just have to be very laser focused on it, and you'll be okay if you do.
Yeah, for sure. So that leads me to the next question. So where do you see the coaching and consulting business going in the future? Because I think that I know, even from my own experiences, everybody's a coach, everybody's an author, everybody, you know, is supposedly an expert on how to make $1 million in 5 minutes, which is just really unrealistic and really not the truth of the matter. So do you think that because of what is currently happening is that it's kind of going to wipe out a lot of this seminar, upselling, whatever? Because, I mean, a lot of those guys can't have events, or a lot of those, you know, coaching type people cannot have those kind of events, and they're obviously having to adapt. So do you think that this is going to even the playing field, or how do you perceive this to, you know, change going forward?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's going to even the playing field a little bit. I'm already seeing some of the top coaches out there, like the real coaches, are like one guy is doing a virtual event. He was having a mastermind event in Texas this week, And it was like Frank Kern, who did some work with Grant Cardone and some other people, some big speakers out in the industries, were all coming into a hotel. So now they're doing it virtually. And there's a perfect example of somebody adapting. I think what you're going to see in the coaching and consulting, I think you're going to see a lot of the wannabes, the people that are trying to just throw up a business because they want to throw it up and think they're great. And, unfortunately, when they're really not, they haven't had the life experiences, they'll probably go away. I think you'll see the coaching industry tighten up a little bit as far as people going away, because you see that all the time. Hey, give me $5,000 and I'll help you build your business. I mean, we all get caught in that, or give me this and sign up now and you get all this stuff. There's true legitimate people out there. I think they're going to thrive. They're going to figure it out how to be more virtual. I think coaching consulting right now is going to be more virtual than ever. And I think even in the real estate mortgage business, even with doctors now, I think you're going to have this whole virtual world come. I think I was saying in 2026, I think by 3 or 4 years, it's much sooner. It's going to be more virtual now than ever.
Yeah, for sure. But the thing that the question that I want to sort of elaborate, or the point I want to elaborate on, is we see so much of this in terms of coaching and all of these things. But,
right.
How many of the people that sign up and that pay all this money actually go on to be, successful? Because so many people I know have invested in programs, they've put in the work, but, it all depends on what environment you're in, what market you're in, what country you're in, because things, maybe selling in one, in New York State as opposed to, Texas, the market may be very different. So
right.
I just want to know from your perspective and your own coaching experience and clients that you've worked with, have you actually seen results rendered, and can you give us some examples of how maybe a client went from really struggling to go on to do something really great, or just keep pivoting and keep progressing? So I don't know if you have any examples.
Yeah, no, I got a perfect example. I was coaching somebody I became friends with. She was actually going through a real bad divorce, and this was like 3 or 4 years ago, and she didn't have my phone number. She had me on Facebook, so I got a Facebook message at like 3 a.m. I'm driving to the bridge. I'm like, huh? Like what? Like, kind of waking up, you're like, holy shit. So I was like, what's going on? And she said, hey, can you call? She called and said, yeah, caught my husband cheating, doing this, doing that. And it was just mind-boggling. So, of course, I just go into like, okay, how do I help this person? And so I kind of got her calmed down, stopped her from, driving. She went home, and I just started working with her like on a weekly basis. She got out of the job she was in, got a divorce, got that all squared away. Went through a lot of depression, a lot of anger, all those sort of states and patterns and things, which is normal. You look fast forward to 3 years from now, 3 years, today, basically, she's in a whole new job, making much more income, happy, content, in a new relationship, and, life is basically good. So those are kind of the results. And I think you have to really just be in tune with your clients, be it whatever industry you're in. Especially like for me in the mortgage industry, it's like, I got people who might not have good credit right now, and they don't have enough money. So I got to get them from point A to point C through point B. So how do I do that? You have to work with them. You have to kind of set goals and objectives for people, because a lot of these fraud coaches that are out there, are basically, oh, give me the money, give me the $4,900 or whatever it is, and we'll get you through. They'll take you through like a program that they copied from somebody, and it just doesn't work. You have to, the key is in the results. When you get people getting results, be it getting into a new home with as little or no money down, little or no problems, it's a smooth, or you coach somebody that turns their whole life around and you can see those results. It might not be in the numbers or percentages, but you see somebody do that, then, that's how it's done. And you have to kind of market that as well. I mean, you have to use testimonials, which is what I do, and that helps build your, legitimate, programs up.
Absolutely. So on to something that just in addition to what you do. So you are doing yard sales or garage sales with your kids.
Yep.
Isn't that stretching yourself rather thin? And what lessons are your kids learning about business?
I agree. Yeah, it definitely is, because it's, it was a lot of work to film, and obviously kids don't want to always cooperate. So you get the moods and you get the modes, and I got the kids in the back seat, fighting, hitting each other, not want to be on film. And so it was definitely taxing. Originally we wanted to film it and kind of document it, because it was something, they came to me and said, hey, my son's like, I want, or he needed a new Kindle. And then my daughter's like, well, I want AirPods. I'm like, well, you just don't want and then we get. You got to figure out how to earn it. So I kind of came up with this way, and we all talked and said, okay, we're going to, flip items. I saw some people doing it. It's like, hey, let's have some fun. It's like my old days of doing yard sales and stuff like that, where you take all your items and make some money. And so we did that over the summer into the fall, like right before Thanksgiving. And it was hell. I mean, it was a lot of work, but like anything, did it spread us thin a little bit? Sure. But it was a risk that I wanted to take to see what would happen. I felt like if I didn't do that, then I'd have, more regrets and saying, okay, well, what if we didn't do this? I mean, we got some pop and some people looking at it, but, a lot of people are like, oh, you got to put it out there and just, maybe you'll get a show. I'm like, that wasn't really our intent. Our intent was to start and try to help them understand about business, how things work a little bit. I think they got a couple lessons on, how the dollar works, how you spend money to kind of make money, especially when things don't sell. Like we had a purse where my daughter got a Gucci purse for 50 cents on a 50-cent table, and we didn't realize that the zipper was fully broken. So we sold it originally for like 110. So that was a massive profit. We're like, holy crap. And that was like one of the first things we went to. And we were like, oh, this is great. We're doing awesome. And then, zippers broke. So, I think it went down to 90. And then when the person got it, we didn't realize like certain straps, they were like loose and the leather was weathering a little bit. So I think we settled on like 80 or something like that. So we still made a huge profit on it. But I think they learned that, okay, there are sometimes problems and you have to really be observant. So now every purse that we had, we were like saying, okay, you're buying it as is. We took more pictures. So they learned a lot of good, hard lessons. Like business is hard. I mean, and I think they really understood that to a degree. They're still kids, so they're not going to understand everything fully. But I think they, my daughter's 12 now, so I think she kind of understood that. My son's 9, and I don't think he fully understands it, but he understood, okay, we got to go out and buy items and resell them at a higher price to actually, get some money so we could buy stuff. So some good lessons there.
For sure. So if you were the president, how would you lead the country through the coronavirus pandemic?
That's a loaded question. I like it. That's awesome. Look, I mean, there are some things that, like Trump is nuts. I wish he would shut his mouth. I mean, there are some things that I like what he's trying to do, but there's a lot of stuff where it's like, okay, could you just kind of like shut your mouth a little bit more? Definitely not how he's doing it right now. I think if you're running this country, you want to have the states do some things themselves, but there has to be a whole collaboration. I mean, it's 50, United States and some territories. It's why it says united for a reason. I don't think you can let all the states sort of be out there on their own. They're all competing against stuff. I feel like he's running it like The Apprentice a little bit, like the TV show, which is not going to work. I mean, I thought originally, okay, maybe a business guy who built businesses would have some idea. But, there's a lot of like sort of drama in his head that's going on. Definitely not how he's running it right now. I think you need to have more communication and collaboration among states. Like I would have I know they're having governor meetings with the governors, but I would have really had, more of a task force with the governors where, you had something at least daily with them, and then maybe the top cities or the hot spots, the mayors, you'd have calls with them, or another person in the task force would be there. You have to, really, I think, run through the government. A crisis like that, you can't have state by state, because it becomes a free-for-all. And I think that's what you see is happening right now.
Well, I mean, you've seen it with the ventilators, and our states have had to try and outbid each other. I mean, it's just crazy.
Right. And I would have obviously shut stuff down a lot sooner. I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, we got a business, but then, okay, it's like either, you have to take the brunt of it for a few months, or then people are going to die. More people are going to die. I mean, I would have shut things down. I mean, I remember this thing was starting to spike a little bit in the beginning of February, and it wasn't that bad. People were like, oh, we're overreacting. And I remember saying, I think this is going to get a little worse the way this is spreading. And I would have probably shut things down much sooner, like at least by the end of February, or like March 1st versus I think the 12th or 19th, when like our state of Delaware really shut things down.
For sure. So you have branded yourself as someone who is available 24/7, 365 days, which is obviously a lot. So how did you decide on that?
So when I was in, IT, I was always having to be on call, available 24/7 at times. So I kind of felt like, to me, in a world that is around the clock, it's not the 9 to 5 anymore. People work overnight. I just felt like branding yourself as I'm available 24/7, like that has a lot of communication inside it. And there's a little bit of something there, like, okay, well, this guy's available. Because even in the mortgage business, you would see other people shut down on the weekend. Sure, realtors would have open houses, but Friday, 5 o'clock, people are like, oh, I'm done. Okay. And I'm like, no, I'm like, you got to be available on the weekend for these people. People are looking at homes on the weekend. Like, are you nuts? Like, you have to be available. And that's how I started gaining a lot of business. And I think in any business now, you have to be more virtual, more available. I mean, obviously, you need to have a good balance of things. But I think you ultimately have to, to be available like that. I think most everybody should, especially if you're in consulting. You're always going to have the crisis that happens at, 10 o'clock Saturday night, or it's the same thing.
1 o'clock in the morning or whatever.
Yeah, it's going to happen, and you got to be there to handle it. It can't wait 3 or 4 days. Because then if that's the case, you're just going to go elsewhere.
Exactly. So as an entrepreneur, how do you keep up with obviously this ever-changing world, and what are things you do to stay on top of new technologies, etc.?
That's a great question. I mean, to stay on top of new technologies, there's a couple sites out there that I go to every day, like TechCrunch and stuff. Like I try to in the morning, like if I'm going to the office, I try to get in there early and like spend a good 20 minutes on like, okay, what's going on? Like, what's the new technology? What's going on with like virtual reality? And then like obviously in the mortgage business, I get a lot of email alerts. I read those. I try to kind of use that as my morning paper, so to speak. I read all the stuff that's out there. I go to the main news sites. I mean, obviously try to strip the political stuff out, because each news site has a little bit of, political stuff. So I try to weed that out, but sort of look and see what's going on. What are the current events? What are big things that are going to impact, for example, in the mortgage business? When this coronavirus started happening, I said, if this really hits a big wave here, it's going to really put tighten the screws in the mortgage industry, which it did. And even in like the coaching industry, people are going to start, keeping their money and spending on other things. They're not going to have more disposable income. So I saw that kind of coming, and I just sort of said, okay, we just got to be available virtually and not sell yourself like you're a salesman, but just say, hey, how's it going? How you doing? How you holding up? And just sort of being that person that's there. But I think it's a combination of reading the websites. Technology is changing daily, so just always reading some of those sites, like what's happening with the new technology, and that way you could be up front. Because sometimes being first is a good thing. Absolutely.
So there is so much virtual reality and artificial intelligence, or AI, happening now. You worked at a company out of New York that focused on that. So what did you see, and what is really in store for us going forward?
Yeah, so they developed I forgot the name they originally called it, but they developed this virtual person called Amelia for Amelia Earhart. And basically it was this basically robot that looked like a human and had all this artificial intelligence. And so what it was sort of doing was like you would ask it a question and then it would kind of learn and then respond and talk back to you. And just watching these engineers kind of talk to this thing, it was like, holy crap, that looks so real. And when you see a demo of it, you're like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. But you're already seeing it in like the automation in the call centers when you call in, you know, or you go online, you see the virtual agent. I think, you know, hopefully the next 3 or 4 years that'll get better, because it kind of sucks right now when you're trying to reach out to somebody, and because of Corona, it's busy. I mean, I still like a live agent, but I think there's still a way to go with the automation. Hopefully the next 3 or 4 years they'll speed it up, and these things will get better at it. But I think you're going to start to see more virtual reality. People are going to take more virtual tours of homes. That's obviously already there.
That's already happening even now.
Yeah, I think it's going to be more prevalent than ever. I think, you know, people are not going to go out with the realtor first. They're going to just, you know, put on a helmet or look at it virtually online a little bit better. And that's going to change the process. And I think even with the mortgage process, you know, we'll have a virtual meeting or a Zoom meeting first to kind of connect and go from there. I think you're going to see more virtual events happening. You know, I think in the gaming space, you know, that's going to continue. I mean, it's already there. I mean, I was at a couple conventions last year, and you put on the helmet and you're walking on this plank like you're in a building. It's amazing. So I think you're going to start to see more of that. I think in the medical field, you know, if you're going to have like a surgery or something, they'll probably have like a virtual reality thing where you can kind of see what's happening before you have your surgery, like, so you kind of feel more comfortable, and hopefully that's the case. But yeah, I think I said 2026 by the time we had the Olympics back here. I think in about 3 years, you're going to see much more than ever the virtual reality and all the online stuff. It's going to be even more so prevalent than ever.
Yeah, for sure. So last two questions really. So what are the 3 leadership traits people need to have right now? And what do you think the 3 key pieces of advice you would give to other entrepreneurs that are wanting to, you know, start their own business or get into, you know, the business of being a coach or, you know, in the mortgage real estate business? And then what legacy would you like to leave?
Yeah, I think leadership right now, big thing is communication. That's one thing. You got to have communication. I think active listening is number 2. They're probably like 1A and 1B. You got to be able to communicate effectively now, because, you know, you're not in front, so you're not seeing all the nonverbals and you're on calls and stuff. But then obviously listening skills, and not just like, oh, I'm listening, active listening, where you really pay attention to somebody and say, okay, I hear you. And then I think, you know, more of a directness. I mean, I would maybe say compassion a little bit, but I think leaders right now need to be more direct. Like, they need to not bullshit around the curve and be like, oh, well, things are great. No, they're not. You know, they suck right now. Let's be a little bit more honest. So I think more directness in a good way, not like in a mean way, but just be direct and say, hey, these are how things are going right now. We're struggling right now. That's, you know, that's a key thing. And then you mentioned about just sort of being in the mortgage business as far as leadership right now, or?
Yeah.
Okay. So in that space, I definitely think obviously communication. You have to be a good communicator. Multitasking is a huge trait, because you're going to be dealing with realtors, title companies, you know, appraisers, underwriters. So you have to be able to learn how to multitask. And I think a third thing in the mortgage and real estate business is you have to be a leadership of technology, because like I said earlier, things are going to really move to that more technology, and you're going to be doing things through apps and through virtual reality. So you really have to be a leadership of technology and embrace it. I think that's going to be huge. As far as legacy, you know, for me,
I know that's a tricky one.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. That's a loaded question. I love it. As far as legacy, I mean, I think for me, it's all about leaving, you know, lasting results for people. Like, if I were to look at that and say, you know, people came to my funeral and said, okay, what did he do to help people? I would say, you know, he helped people succeed. He helped give people the tools, the confidence, you know, the compassion, the humanity, the humor to help people succeed. You know, when people at my funeral to kind of not be crying but laughing, like, wow, this guy was funny, he was great, he helped me through a tough time, and he gave me tools. Not that I made that person better. It's not about that. It's about I gave some tools to help that person. That person took those steps to, you know, get the home of their dreams or get the coaching that they needed to get out of depression or whatever, or get the new career. I want to be the one that said he helped me, you know, get there. And at the end of the day, that's a great legacy.
Amazing. Well, Joe, thank you so much for joining us today. If people want to get in contact with you or follow you, what are the best ways to connect?
Yeah, I mean, obviously through social media. Like, I'm obviously all over social media. You know, it's every handle is at the Joe Woo. It's TheJoeWoo. And then you know, you pretty much find me everywhere there. I mean, every app that's out there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, and hopefully we can have you back in the future.
Absolutely, would love to have it. I think it'd be great.
And stay safe.
You too, Karen.